Okay, so the last thing to look at is the zip area here. I'm just going to detach this model here. You probably already have it as two separate pieces. So let's select this zip here and have a look at this model. So we can see this isn't actually an organic shape, this is a hard edge shape, so we can use the kind of techniques we were using before. So the first thing we'll do is just select the whole thing and we'll try unfold. Okay, so looking at that, it doesn't look like it's done a terrible job actually, but it's separated this component over to here, so that's the kind of whole surrounding bit, which is not really what we want. So just like usual, we'll try breaking this down into smaller chunks. So we use biangle and select the front piece and maybe the side piece. Let's try doing that. Okay, that's worked well. We could try adding the top and the bottom as well. No, it doesn't like that. So let's try taking off the top. Doesn't like that either. So we'll take off the bottom and just add the top. No, doesn't like that either. So we're going to have to just do the sides. So leave it like that. That's pretty good. And then manually we can attach the top and the bottom. So if that's still attached there, we'll do tools, break. So again, it's kind of classic thing with Unwrap. You try something. If that doesn't work, then you try breaking it down a bit more to smaller bits. And then if you can, you manually tweak the rest of it. So if I select these four, I can see they're attached to that row there. So I'm going to select this and use tools, flip vertical. There we go. Let's check that point. Okay, we can see that that point touches to there, so we also need to do tools, flip horizontal. And I'm just going to attach, turn on snap, and attach that to there. In fact, we'll do it like this. We'll select those two, snap those to there, those two to there, those to there, and those to there. And we'll probably find we need to actually raise that, because if you look at the shape there, they're probably a bit wider, so we'll just raise those up. Then we do the same with this row here. So again, check, yep, those four do attach like that, and that one's to there, so we got a bit lucky there. We can, no tweaking required, we can just pull these straight in. Okay, cool, that's that piece done. Just going to turn off snap now. Okay, so we've then got the back piece. So polygon and element mode, we'll just select that, put that over here, and just kind of scale it up to roughly match the size. And then we've got the inner section here. So let's just select those four polygons, come out of element mode and select these four. And now we've got a couple of things we could do with this. We could either put the sides in here and the ends within here, or we could have them as a kind of a separate row of four along here. I think in this case, let's just go with a separate row. So we'll unfold those four, hopefully that works, and it has. And we'll just leave that there. Okay, so again, you've always got to remember to try and have your seams in places where they're not really going to be seen much, but also make it use as much of the space as possible, and also make it as easy to texture paint as possible. So let's apply a checker and make sure we haven't got any stretching. Oh, it doesn't like this bit down here for some reason. So let's try selecting that one there and just manually tweaking this by hand. Oops. Just to get them as kind of square as possible. But like I said before, you're always going to have a little bit of texture stretching, and often it can be worth having a bit of stretching to avoid seams. Okay, so that's that model done. We'll close this unwrap window and select our last component here and turn on apply an unwrap modifier, and open our UV editor. And we'll have a look at this shape. So again, it's a bit more of a it's a hard edge shape, and again, when looking at this, you want to try and break it down into individual bits. I mean, we can start straight away just by unfolding it, and unsurprisingly, it's given us a bad result. That's just because it's quite a complex shape. So let's try breaking this down a bit further. So that flat piece is actually kind of okay. So let's try just adding some bits to that. Just come out of angle mode there and just take those off. So we'll try that. Okay, so that hasn't worked amazingly well. We're not far off though, actually. We could probably tweak that to work if we just go into vertex mode, turn on snap, and drag these points up here, these down here, and this down here. Obviously we'll need to pull these out a little bit. Just going to turn off snap. We might need to tweak that a bit when we do this, when we apply the checker, but we'll leave it like that for now. Okay, then we've got this side panel area. We'll try doing that and unfolding that bit. Well, let's just select the whole thing actually, and we'll try that. Okay. Oh, that's not bad at all. That's done that fine. So now we've only got the sides and the intersection of that to do. So obviously for the sides, we want to try and attach them onto this. So that's actually that piece there, and that piece will go over there. So to attach them, kind of similar technique, vertex mode, and we'll use rotate tool just to rotate this round. It's not quite giving us the blue edge display, it does this sometimes. But we can line them up like by using our viewport. So let's just turn off the seams. You can see those two line up, those two line up, and those line up. So vertex mode, turn on snap, and pull these into place. Like so. And then the same for the other side. So edge mode, selected that edge. Yep, so they're the right ones, so let's just rotate that like so. Okay, so we can see that those line up. Yep, those do, so we know that those line up and those line up. Okay, so again we apply our checker modifier, material. And next we need to just tweak the vertices of this shape, turn off snap to get them as kind of square as possible. I mean, you don't need to use the squares here, you can look at the shape as well and just actually line them up, get them as best, and then look and then use the squares. Okay, so that'll do. Ooh, still got those 3 inside bits to do. So I'm just going to select those, use F2 to turn off that display. Just going to rotate that round and move that up to here. Let's just match the scale as well. Like so. So we can turn off angle snap as well, just to tweak that. Okay, so that's that shape done. So that's everything unwrapped. Both your arms should be unwrapped, of course, because they are instanced. And both the legs should be unwrapped as well, because they're both instances. And same with the eye. So the next thing we need to do is actually put all these onto one texture plate. So to do that, what we need to do is select our entire model and then right click and convert to editable poly. Select the main body and go to attach list and just select all the models for the Sackboy. And there we go, it's all one model now. We'll name this TA for my initials and then Sackboy. Okay, so let's apply an unwrap modifier to that. We'll open our UV editor. Then you can see it's very messy now. So let's go to element mode and just select, and polygon mode, and just select each element and drag that off. Okay, so yeah, you can use element mode in your viewport or in the unwrap window, it's up to you. So what we want to do is get everything matching in size. So we'll keep the head and the body over here and we'll use that size as a reference for everything else. So there's both legs. And then we'll do the eyes. Now we might want to give a bit more texture space to the eyes. So select this area, scale that down. So I've done everything pretty small here, let's drag everything back over there. And then select both the arms and do the same. and then select the body. And last but not least, the top of the zip. If you're finding it a little bit hard to judge, as I am here, if you go to your material editor and just set your tiling to be higher, there we go, it should be a bit easier. Okay, so I've now got each of my components. Now what you do here is just do a rough estimation, because you want to use as much of this texture space as possible. So looking at this, I can see that I'm going to have quite a lot left over, so let's just try scaling all this up a bit more. It's probably a bit too big. Let's scale it down a little bit more. Okay, so we can do two things here. We can either use our pack and group options, or we can do it by hand. So I think for this case, just to get used to doing it, we're going to do this by hand. So I'll align the head to there. Put the eyes up here, and the mouth here. Actually rotate that so that's the right way up. I'm going to apply our zip area to this section, and then it does look like we're going to actually run out of room here, so let's scale it down a little bit further. And just bear in mind you want to make use of all the space you can, so really kind of zoom right in and move objects to use the space. You want to leave a bit of a gap for when you're painting your texture. So with something like this we could consider actually rotating it. So if I select that and scroll up in the options, slot that in there and slot the other section of the zip there. And also, on the occasional thing, if you feel like you can just actually scale that down a little bit to fit, just slightly, then you're okay. Okay, there we go, we've got a general layout. and we are wasting a fair bit of space. But that's just what's going to happen when you've got a small model with not that many components in it. You are going to get some wasted space, but at least this allows us, if we do add anything to the model, we can add to this. We can add it to this, like small components and things. So we can see that's actually slightly kind of out of the guide. So just to tweak it, I'm just going to pull that in. Okay, so there we go. So you should end up with a nicely Unwrap Sackboy model. Now we can render out our UV template. And take that into Photoshop to paint our texture. Just as a last little side note, something you can do is, depending on the model, you can have overlapping UVs. So this would be where, say, this is exactly the same as this. So if I copied that and then pasted that on top, it has actually broken it, but you could actually overlay them. So when you paint that one, it paints that one. It's only if you want to have kind of, it can affect the normal map if you have overlaid UVs, and also what if you wanted to have, say, a different element on this arm to this one on the texture, then if they're overlaid you wouldn't be able to have that.